So we have a little panel here. We want to talk about the smart green utility transformation, as I call it. I think the idea is how can we basically change a big utility into a really cool and funky and innovative company. On the panel we have Leonie of Eneco, Joris of Quby, Raphael Kuhne from Set Ventures, and he's on the panel because he has a utility background too. Yes. He used to be an LP in Set Ventures. And of course, we have Peter from Inven. And being a gentleman, being four gentlemen, we give Leonie the first word. Cool. And she can explain a little bit about this idea of transformation, how much you personally, you can be on the record, because this is recorded and it goes up on YouTube, of course. But you can give us a little bit of your personal impression on how much you think that Eneco is really a changing company and really a transforming company, and maybe where you are compared to the goal, how far you are already in with reaching the goal of transforming this cool company into an even cooler company.
Thank you. Yeah, I think to start off, it's always best to start, I guess, close to yourself. So I joined Eneco 2 years ago, and to be honest, I was had some prejudice, I guess, also about a utility, joining a utility. And it changed completely when I had my interviews there. And what impressed me most is the sense of urgency that's really from board level to employees at the different departments that we need to change. And that was basically what made me decide to join this company, because my job is only interested if a company really wants to change. If you only talk about it, and I love to talk about it, but it's really not that interesting after a couple of talks and a couple of PowerPoints. You need to do it. And I haven't regretted it, because we are changing. And what impresses me most is that, yes, we have a separate innovation department who gets a lot of freedom, and really a lot of freedom, and a lot of so-called crazy ideas, actually, that board members are fully committed to and fully enthusiastic about, and really want to support it and say, okay, just go ahead and do it. And you see that basically cycling through to the other departments. And that's what impresses me most, that even people who do not have innovation basically in their daily jobs written as a specific target, they also believe, yes, but I have to contribute to this as well. So it's really exciting to see if you invest in a startup and you basically connect them to a certain department because you believe that they can work together quite well. That at first you may have to convince people to do it, and then after a couple of weeks people are so excited and they say, I talked to them, I visited them, and it's awesome what they're doing, and I like it, and I want to go there, an afternoon per week just to work together with them. So yes, we're changing. I think our goal will never be fully reached, because always something new comes up. So, and I think as soon as you talk about we are about at 50% or at 60%, you tend to get lazy. So we're never there. We will keep pushing.
If you want to become an innovative utility, sometimes it's a good idea to buy an innovative startup company, yeah, and they may help you in reaching that goal. Joris, can you explain a little bit this relationship, when it started, how it started?
Well, first,
how it developed?
Eneco is very different compared to other energy companies in Europe. In my role, I talk to energy companies mainly in Europe to try to convince them to use our technology. And what I see all the time, and Eneco is really different from that, is that from history perspective, energy companies are very risk-averse, because they are used to provide. They are the only ones to provide energy. It has to be there all the time. People already complain when it's off for 5 minutes, then it's bad service. So everything they do looking at it with what's the risk. And now in the transition, they have to be the opposite, very, very innovative. And that's just not in the DNA of most companies. It is very much in the DNA of Eneco, but I don't see it in any of the other energy companies. So that's a really big challenge, because it's explainable that they have to be risk-averse from history, but going to the future, they have to be the complete opposite. And it's hard to have the people change within a company, but two, it's even harder to attract people who could do this, because who wants to work for a risk-averse company who wants to be innovative? I mean, come on, then you start your own company. That's what I did. But working with a company like us is not enough. It helps a little bit. It speeds up the process. Working with many startups helps. But the biggest challenge for these big energy companies in Europe is to have the whole organization change and change their DNA. And in essence, from the day we are on the planet as people, we don't like change. No one likes change. So it's hard for energy companies. And there's not just one challenge they're facing, but they're facing like 5, 6, 7 challenges. I want to mention names, but I've spoken to more than one CEO who said, Joris, I'm the captain of the Titanic, and there's nothing I can do about it. So you can throw me maybe one life vest, but that's not enough to save the boat. So what should we do?
Do you want to give us a quick summary of this relationship, how it started and when it started, and I think a couple of funding rounds have been probably involved leading up to an acquisition. How did it happen that this relationship really got more successful and closer over time?
Going back to my presentation this morning, when I started Quby, I realized that smart home is low interest. So you need, in order to be successful with smart home, to cross the chasm, you need a big brand, a trusted brand. So I thought, well, let's look into the future. Who in 6 years from now would be a logical choice for consumers to buy their smart home stuff from? And I thought, well, that's either a telecommunications company or an energy company. So I thought, so from the start, I thought my end goal is to work with an energy company as a customer and use each other's strength. So we are small and innovative, and they are big, they have the customers and they have the brand. So I spoke to many energy companies, and I would say engaged with a few, but married with one. 5 years ago, that was Eneco. So we learned a lot together in making the product work well and scale up. And about 3 years ago, they said to me, well, now it's time to do the same in other countries. So we started doing that. And about 2 years ago, we found that that's really a big market, but we need extra money to grow faster. So I started looking at other companies to invest. And Eneco was fine with it. And suddenly, about 1.5 years ago, they realized that maybe it's not so smart to have an external investor invest in Quby, because they already invested not money, but also so much intellectual property in the company. So why have some, and nothing against the investors, but why have some investor invest as we, as Eneco, have enough money to invest? So they decided to buy the company as a whole last year, which was very good for the company because expanding to other countries is not easy. It needs time and money, and it needs to pivots. So you need to be able to change your model slightly, and Eneco is a very good partner for that. It's like the Stichting Doen. They look at it long term. So it's a very stable shareholder for the company itself, but also for future customers. The other energy companies being much more risk-averse than Eneco, they really like the idea of Eneco as a owner of Quby.
Leonie, what do you think? How important actually is this acquisition of Quby from Eneco and the innovation strengths of Eneco? Is it a role model? Does it have a big impact on the innovation power of Eneco?
I think it mainly signals that Eneco really believes in the future of Tone, Quby, and smart home services, so to say, as part of the future utility. And so much that we're saying, we want to not only invest and kind of remain as a distance, but really, really enforce this relationship, invest heavily as it, and we see it as a part of the future strategy, so to say, of Eneco. And obviously, we would never have come to this point hadn't we done this together with a company like Quby. And I mean, it started for us, I think it started as a pilot, and then we figured out in the pilot, which failed, and then the customers, even though it failed, or at least there were many things that didn't work well, customers said, yes, but I really like to have this smart thermostat on the wall, so can I please keep it? And that kind of was a light bulb moment, like, okay, this has some value. But it started mainly as a retention tool, so to say. So we want to have more interaction with our customers. And I guess together with Quby, we kind of went onto this path that led to a whole strategy besides just having a retention tool, so to say. So it's also a learning experience for us as a company, and together kind of figuring out what works, what doesn't work, and where does a smart home strategy, if you want to call it that way, should lead to. So it's been instrumental. Would never have come this far without.
Joris, just a quick follow-on question. The fact that you are now owned by a utility, how much does it help or even hinder a little bit your international business development, reaching out to other utilities? Is this a pro, or is it a con, or is it something in between?
Well, of course, I talk a lot to my competitors in the market, and they all said they were very happy when Eneco bought the company, because we would never do business with other energy companies. And I said, well, that's completely the opposite, as I said before. So it has helped us for the international growth. One, because we have more funding. We always had money shortage as a startup. So Eneco provides funding to be present in other countries. Eneco provides funding to be able to put the right people in the right countries. And just the fact that they are now the owner really helps to build trust. But to me, what really helps most is what my sales pitch at the moment is. What I do is I invite potential energy company customers to Amsterdam. Then we go together in the Tesla to Eneco. And then the only thing I'll do, I'll have Eneco talk. And at the end of the day, I'll drive them back, and we sign a deal.
So you are now a Tesla driver, basically?
yeah. So sometimes it feels like that. So back to your question, how does Eneco help? So they help by just explaining how successful they've been in the Netherlands. Yeah. And then on the way back, it's just is always so when I take senior management of other energy companies to Eneco, then on the way back, it's just how can we start?
Basically, they are a key customer of Toon, and they are doing the selling because they explain how happy they are, what the users
it brings
have
them
experience. So it's basically a pretty easy job,
just driving a Tesla, and now you don't even have to touch the wheel. So it's a very easy job I'm having.
Cool. All right, Raphael, you have been working with a big utility called
RWE.
RWE and the
before Ascent, and in 2006 I was lucky to be able to set up corporate venturing for Ascent at the time in the Benelux, and we had at that point in time 50 million committed to an indirect investment strategy. So we didn't invest directly in companies, but into funds only. And that brought us actually quite some good results in terms of vision on deal flow, because we invested in funds in North America and as well, of course, in SET at that time. So we had a deal flow of over 1,500 companies per year that we could see in Europe and in the US as well. So it brought a lot of knowledge and a lot of access to the market for Ascent at the time.
What did you do with the deal flow? Did you actually make open innovation business with them?
Yeah. So good point. So I think that was one of the major payoffs of the whole corporate venturing effort, is that we also got really into projects with, for instance, AlertMe and with Appion as a company, and we could be a pilot customer and set up actually really commercial rollouts of Ascent contracts together with AlertMe proposition in the shop. So it was really, in fact, completely what we wanted to achieve in that sense. Not with all a portfolio of companies, of course, but with some of them we were able to do that. So it was an indirect strategy, and I think that there's quite some advantages to that as well, because you're a bit more, at a distance from the portfolio companies, and you don't have this let's say, threat to the startups that are maybe hesitant to go with a strategic investor directly because of control issues. But we did have the payoff of being able to work together with them. So yeah, that worked out really well. It's still ongoing, being managed out at the moment. But RWE has at the same time set up a different corporate venturing unit, a new one as well, and has increased their efforts tremendously. Just like Eneco and just like many utilities that we see.
If you compare a little bit Essent RWE with Eneco, do you think how far are you in this transformation journey to a smart green utility?
Well, I wouldn't want to say the one is the head of the other, but I think that the beautiful thing about the way that Eneco is addressing it and RWE is doing it is the fact that they position really corporate venturing in the heart of their open innovation effort. And therefore also in the heart of their strategic development. So coming to a new strategy for Eneco and also for RWE is being done on the back of this open innovation with corporate venturing as a major tool for that. I think corporate venturing is actually the perfect tool for it because you directly access companies that have new technologies, that have new business models, and that are really close to commercialization or really bringing products and services to the market. So it's much more effective, it's much more fast than connecting to research institutes or to have think tank sessions and come up with new ideas. It's really more ahead than the other tools of open innovation, I think. So therefore, I think them positioning this as at the core of their new strategic, let's say, development, I think is key to become a smart utility fast.
Peter, you have been working at Chess before, right?
Yes.
When did you get the idea to start corporate venturing inside Chess, and how did you sell it to the bosses of Chess that it would be a good idea?
That's a good question. Yeah, when did it start? If you look at the wholesale price development, we had like 80, 90 euro per megawatt hour in 2008, and then it started to go down, and we had the discussion, is it going to come back or not? And there was a very clear scenario which became reality, unfortunately, that this is a systemic change which is happening, right? So there's no way back now. And that's where actually we started to ask ourselves the question, what to do about it, yeah? Shall we hire consultants and make a lot of slides and have a great, discussion about the future, which is going to be always different than what you plan, or let's just go out there and, talk to the real people who do real business with real ideas and work with them. So that was the idea, maybe 2012. And then we started to work with all people within Chess and make sure that they're all going to buy into the thing, that we're going to set up something which is going to be very independent, but still with love with its mother, and co-op and work together going forward. So it took some time, and we wanted to take the time to really everybody understands that it kind of makes sense.
We have somebody from Chess in the room, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Ladislav.
Yeah.
And Chess is actually an investor now in Rockstart?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
How did this come about?
Well, we all of us met with Rockstart guys, and then we took them for a nice meeting to our Inven Villa, which is not at headquarters of Chess, and we had a nice chat with Ladja and other guys there, and we decided it kind of makes sense to do it. So it's great. Inven, is a next step, right? At the beginning, there's this innovation platform headed by Ladja, actually, and being part of Rockstar is actually bringing a lot of great new ideas and potential investment opportunities for us, and great ideas for Chess to see what's happening out there, and and maybe change something.
How good is Chess at the moment at becoming a smart green utility? What is happening to their transformation?
They are doing their best they can. Yeah, they are doing their best they can. Look, this is a nuclear company. Yeah, they are running nuclear power plants, and very efficiently. Actually, they are the best when it comes to operating nuclear power plants. So, you don't want to have
better
too much.
Than the French.
Obviously. So you don't want to have too many creative ideas about how to run your nuclear power plant, right? So they are very conservative. But at the same time, they perfectly understand that the future stays with the client base. And they have a lot of clients in the Czech Republic and the region, and the clients actually like chess. It's not like maybe RWE or E.ON. They're kind of, they are always like, not happy about the price they have to pay, but at the end of the day, they see that chess is delivering on the promises. So they want to utilize the client base, and they are. I mean, as we speak, they will be launching about 15 additional products on top of the commodity to the client base to keep them, with chess and make them happy. So I think they are doing best they can.
And the corporate venturing team, your team is an important open innovation channel into chess too, right?
Yeah,
so you are introducing a couple of startups that you are not investing in because you believe maybe they could do some useful business together.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we are trying to share as much as possible. Actually, I just received an SMS. Next week there will be another session in our villa with people from Chess Pro Day, and we'll be sharing as much as we can and so forth. So. That's additional, part of the education.
Are you already talking to chess, Joris, to sell tone to the Czech market?
Well, to be honest, they approached me about 5 years ago or 6 years ago, and I didn't know them, so I thought, and it was not my focus area, Eastern Europe. So I said, well, we're not interested. And the guy on the phone was like, but we are chess. So then I quickly Googled it, and I said, okay, let's talk. So yes, we're talking, but it's for us. Even though we're a big company now in the smart home, we are still a small company when it comes to people. So at the moment, our focus is on Germany, France, Italy, and UK, and Eastern Europe is for next year.
Why do you think are there people in Eastern Europe a little bit behind? Do you think they are not as interested in smart home, or is it just that your pipeline is full? Why would you say?
Yeah, that's a main reason.
The pipeline is full?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good, huh? Leonie, full pipeline?
Yes, please.
But Jan, maybe there's one thing that's on my mind, and I think the big challenge here on corporate venturing, I think it comes and goes, right? That is what we have seen over the past maybe 2 decades, that the interest was there, and then economy went a bit sour, and the financial results of companies were going a bit down, and then corporate venturing was closed down, was sold off in an MBO or otherwise, and I think that it's really key now to keep on doing this and keep on investing in it the way that is happening now, and the increased interest and effort in it that we see now in all these utilities. It should go on, because otherwise you will again lose your momentum. You will again lose your professionalism in the companies. And that's.
Do you guys actually think that the competition is heating up among the utilities, chasing the best startups in Europe, or not?
Yeah, yes and no. I think the funny thing to see is that as a utility, in the old thinking, so to say, you look at other utilities as your competitors, but now, to be honest, I'm not sure who's the largest competitor, whether that's RWE or whether that's Google, or, so it's, I think, increasingly companies are realizing that finding the right partnerships is much more important than being afraid of your competitors. So yes, obviously, we look sometimes at same type of companies, but it doesn't mean that you cannot invest together. And obviously, when you really, really strong competitors in the same geographical area, it's a bit harder. I think that's in that respect for Eneco, it's sometimes an advantage that we don't have a huge geographical spread as an energy company over Europe. So when we look at services, for us, it's relatively easy. Even together with other utilities to invest in some areas, because we do not see them as a competitor. For us, chess wouldn't be a competitor because there's a large enough market basically to divide on the services area, and the energy area we're just not really in reach.
because of the different geographic footprints. Yeah,
Yeah.
It is possible that you become a co-investor in one of these startups in the future, right?
Yes, that
I
could
can
be.
imagine that. Yeah.
Actually, I think that for the startup, that would probably be great because they cover Northwestern Europe and Eastern Europe in one round then. So.
That's what I call a multi-utility syndicate of investors. Yeah, you can remember that, okay? All right. And Raphael, how do you see competition heating up among the utilities? I mean, there's hardly a single utility left on the European footprint that is not active in innovation and corporate venturing. I think it's a high time for startups, in these years, because they are all open and they send their smartest people to conferences and they really want to not miss a single startup. How do you see it from your experience?
Well, competition heating up maybe is also showing in price increases and in valuation increases, and I think that we've seen a couple of those cases where valuations are going really high up last 6 months, and I'm not sure if that is a result of just corporate venturing units being more active, but or the whole market being more active. There's probably more competition, but also more cooperation. Because also from our perspective, I think that we are open to work with corporate VCs as well. And well, as you know, we tend to invest in syndicates as well, and try to get a broader investor base in from the start, so that you're able to fund the company long term. And there's definitely positions for corporate VCs in that as well.
We finished this panel now with a recommendation from Joris, how to do business in a smart way when you're a small startup with a big utility. Try to summarize it in a couple of sentences.
Ooh,
which
no
are the
pressure.
essence.
No pressure. Yeah, then I would reveal my secret, of course. No.
Which would be fair.
Well, the number one is when you talk to a utility, realize that they don't understand you. So they don't understand a startup. I mean, maybe you do, but when you talk to senior management, they don't understand. So show them that you understand their issues. So don't talk about your technology, but talk about what your offering could bring them to grow or to make the transition. And that requires that you really first, before you meet them, try to understand their business and their pains. And as soon as you can bring across that they understand that you understand their problems. Are you there?
Yeah.
Okay. Then they are open to listen to you, because then they say, okay, this startup, at least they're not just here to push their products. They understand our issues and they're willing to help us change.
Yeah. It's about reaching common understanding. Is a good starting point to build a relationship, right?
Well, if you go to any sales training, it's the same. You first have to level, and then you can exchange information. But a lot of startups are just there. Hello, I'm here. Here's my product, and how many are you going to buy? And then it's not going to happen.
All right, everybody. Let's finish this panel. Let's close it. Give with a big round of applause.